Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to week three. I'm going to go over a few things here in relation to our case. And this is kind of where this is week three. Kind of we have two different and very important parts here, which is the case study introduction and the sample article review. These are at the head of week three. As we go down the list here, we got these are your cases that you've selected. This is a review of what's expected for that case. So if you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to me. But I'm going to want to place a little bit more emphasis on the sample article review and the case study. So I'm going to switch screens here. And we're going to go into the first file, which is the case study introduction. Okay, this talks about how that share did not end up happening. Let's see if I can get that back. There we go. New share. Okay. There we go. Now I want to click over. Okay, so we're going to share. All right, there we go. Okay, so this is something that was put together by Dr. Scharf, which kind of is a really good outline for how to do a case study. So when you take a look at this, these cases are definitely going to have multiple approaches. They're going to have multiple meetings. They're going to have, there's not really a one right answer. Okay. And I'm not really, and this last statement here is very important. I am not really interested in what you do. I'm just asking you how you prove it. So I want you to really take a look at this and see how you could solve this problem. How would you solve this problem? What would be those resources that you would be using to do that? Okay, so you also have a couple of general notes. A lot of times there is going to be this aspect of noise and bias, and there's going to be a lot of other things on there. You got to get down to the root cause of things. You'll hear this both in my comments, and that is looking beyond what we call the symptoms of the case, or what I call the symptoms of the case, which are usually on and get by the noise. Okay, there's usually there's some cloudiness of it. Examples of clouding are like, okay, you have a turnover problem, but realistically, somebody says you have one or two unhappy employees. Well, that's not necessarily that. That doesn't really, to one or two unhappy employees doesn't necessarily mean that that's a cause or a symptom. It's just two unhappy employees. So that you need to discard that aspect of that and get bound and dig a little bit deeper. Where there's also, this is not always a linear thing. In other words, you're not going to be able to read this and go, okay, this is where my problem is. This is it. There's going to actually be stuff sprinkled throughout the case that you're going to need. So make sure you're looking at the whole body of work. When I usually jump in here, I read the case first, then I'll go back with a highlighter and read the case again, and then I'm highlighting those things that I think are problems or issues. And then I might even change the color of my highlighter of something I think is actually the root cause, because what you're looking at is the problem and issues. There's going to be probably several of them, but one, you're going to have to look beyond that to be able to identify the root cause of those things. Then you're going to perform an analysis, okay, and analyze which one is the root cause. And then how would you solve that? Okay, looking at what problems you need and how you would address that. Develop basically a course of action. That's what COA is. It's a course of action. So, decide what you're going to do. And there's probably or what you could do, there could be more than one course of action. Okay. But then you're going to get down here to making your recommendation. And when you make your recommendation, this is what you want. You're going to sell to that board of directors or that CEO as you're a consultant here. This is what you're going to really do. Okay. Sometimes, take a look at this. This is identifying those. We're looking for the root causes. You're going to hear me say that time and time again. You're going to hear that in your comments. Okay. I am looking for where you have identified the root cause and how you've justified that. Okay. You also, you can answer the questions at the back. That sometimes gives you a good way of focusing it. But realistically, what we're looking at here is what are your causes? What are your solutions? Okay. Making a recommendation. Okay. Performing analysis. Okay. Sorry, I skipped that one. What is your, let's look at strengths and weaknesses. Let's look at what external research. This is where your article review comes into play. Okay. And you actually do this. Oops, that one kind of, there we go. This article review here is where you're looking at research. What else is out there on the horizon? What have other people done? What in this situation? What you think you might be able to adapt to work here? This is how you analyze complex problems. Okay, and find solutions to those. Making a recommendation, decide what you're going to do. This is going to be a big one here, is this aspect of supporting your recommendation, and then also identifying risks and costs. Okay, you need to outline risks and costs and outline your logic as you go through this. Okay. This is the biggest part of your, right here between your analysis, your course of action, and your recommendations. This is the bulk of your paper. The first part of that where you're kind of giving me the highlights. I've read this case. I don't really need to know the highlights again, but you're going to give me the highlights, but you don't need to give me the entire case. Just give me a short one-pager, okay, overview of what's going on. And then when you start identifying your problems here, you're going to be spending most of it identifying your root causes, performing your analysis, developing that course of action, and making those recommendations. That should be 80% of your document, with 10% being in your summary and in your in that overview at the beginning. So, we're looking at, if you're doing, typically these run 7 to 8 pages. If you've done it correctly, you're probably, you can't really do them in less than 5, definitely not less than 5, because you need at least a page at the beginning and a page at the end, and then you're going to have 4 to 6 pages in the middle part of this. Okay, so this gives you some good outlines. I'd refer back to this. I've uploaded this for you guys to take a look at, so you should be good there. Now let's take a look at, as soon as I get this, let me switch the new share. And let's go to the Word example. And here we go. Okay. So what we've got here is, this is an example that you're going to see right below the strategy, right below the case study outline PowerPoint. And this is an example of the article summaries. Okay. Now you've got 2 ways where you can present this. You can present this inside your document as a separate section under the APA, and title that section Article Reviews, okay, or Review of Literature, okay, or you can place these at the end of your document as after your references in an appendix. Either way is fine for the format, but you're going to need to make sure that you're actually doing a couple of things here. As you're researching these 4 articles, what you want to do is get through here, take a look at things that are close to what you're doing. Where are they? What applies to them? In this aspect, you're pulling out what applies to your case. Okay, and how this case applies to your situation. It might have a solution. It might have a way of identifying the problem. It's going to have something that's going to relate to your case. And this is where you, in the body of this 3 or 4 paragraphs, you're summarizing how this is going to apply. What is in the case that you're in the article you're reading? What does that apply, and how does that apply to your case? Okay, and then you come down here and kind of summarize those points. And here you should be addressing these as to where they are addressing your problem or addressing your solutions, But in your summary, these should be easily tied back into the document here to where you're using them in the in there. Okay. As we go down here, also a couple of quick notes here. As you're doing these references here, making sure that you're using this retrieved on date. Okay. And making sure you're using this in the in-text place. Okay. In the in-text citation area. Okay. Like right here, this is an APA formatted, in-text citation, because I've used this because it's referring directly to something from the article. Anytime that you're referring in an article to something directly out of the article, whether you're paraphrasing it or or it's a direct quote, you definitely have to be using this. Also, any facts that are related in the article, historical facts. Okay, on this date, this company had happened. This happened to this company. Any of those types of things are going to need to have that that designation behind it. So if you have any questions or any problems with this, please go ahead and reach out to me this week. But I'm looking forward to seeing your first case studies. I'll get those turned around for you next week at the end of the week. But if you have any questions at all, feel free to stop by my office hours on Thursday morning, or just email directly, and I can certainly get back to you. All right. I hope everybody has a great week.